I don't know if I'm going to post this. Oh, I know that my mic is still... I need to get the buffer thing for my mic. I don't know what if it's called, if it's a buffer or if it's like a... You know, like... Whew. I'm burnt out. I had a long day. And I came home to being locked out of my house. Which, I mean, it's just weird, right? I have 2 doors. Like, the entrance that goes into the porch, and that's like the main door that locks. But if you come into my trailer, there's a door that also locks, but I don't have a key to it. I was never given a key to it. I lock it at night, but it's just for like peace of mind, because just in case one of the old maintenance people has my key from the main door, I like to have that inner door locked when I sleep. But that's the only time I lock it, when I'm inside. I've lived here 4 years, and for some reason, when I came home today, that door was locked, and I was on the outside. And there's no keys in existence for that door. So there's an emergency window. I looked at that. It is kind of flimsy from the outside, but like, I didn't want to have to break it or anything, you know. So the next thing I did was I called my brother. He was still at work. It was 5:30. You know, he said that he would come help me after work, that he couldn't leave work to do it, but he would help me after work. And I was like, awesome, thank you. Like, because I was just locked out of my house. I didn't have any tools out there. Actually, come to think of it, maybe I did and I didn't. Oh my gosh. Maybe there are tools out there. Are they in here? I'm going to have to pay attention to that, first of all. Obviously, I've never used my tools. I have them. Don't know where they are. Either in the... They've got to be on the porch, because I cleaned out that spare room, remember? Yeah, so there was tools out there. Probably not the tools I needed. So I call my brother. He's going to come over. Okay, my landlord suggests that I use a milk carton to slide up the lock, like to get between the door and the jamb, and slide up the lock. And I do try that. I went to my sister's, which is down the road, dumped out the last of her milk. She had a whole nother gallon, so it was not terrible to do. I mean, she just had a little tiny bit. So, and took the last of, took her milk jug, cut it up, you know, got some layers so that it would be thick enough, but also thin enough to get in there. And then just said, hey, do you got a crowbar? She's like, yeah. So she came down to her garage with me, got me a crowbar, and then also she's like, well, I've got this picky thing. It's like a screwdriver handle, but it's got like a metal, just a hook, a pick. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. So I took those 2 things and the milk jug back to my house and decided to, you know, give it a try in case I could cancel my brother coming to rescue me. And the milk jug thing didn't work. It wasn't strong enough. Start prying the frame. It's an aluminum frame on the door, so it's like so frustrating to think that like this door is aluminum and I'm locked out of it. It's like, but I end up prying it open enough. I try to get the lock in, but I can't get the last part of it. So I have to pry it even more. I open it wide out open, so I can get into the metal parts of the lock, and I actually move them and I open the door. Just then, though, my brother called during the process of that, and he's like, hey, you still need me? And I'm like, I might have it, if just give me a minute. He's like, all right. He's like, I told him what I was doing. He's like, yeah, do that. And I did it, and then he was like, look at you, strong, independent woman. And I said, I'll still bake for you, because I had told him that I would bake for him. I would offer him money, but he makes way, way, way more money than me, so money does not matter as much to him as it does to me. But baking, I know he likes baked goods sometimes, so I said, I'll still bake for you. He's like, you don't have to bake for me. He's like, I'll come break down your door anytime, Jewel. I said, I know you would, but thanks for being my backup plan. So that was it. Right? Okay, so while this was happening, like when I first realized it, and I was like, what the heck? I was like, oh my God, is this more of my incompetence? Like, oh my gosh, like now that I've given myself permission to be incompetent, I'm really living it up. But it didn't feel bad. I didn't feel ashamed. I was just like, huh, interesting. Because now that I'm in and I look at it, it's like the only way that door could have locked is if I actually turned the knob to lock it. There's just this little plastic knob. It's recessed. So I couldn't have caught it with my clothes and turned it. Nothing like that could have happened. I literally had to have taken my 2 fingers and turned that lock before. How would it have even closed? I guess it closes when it's locked. Yeah, and I locked it before I left the house. Like, I was totally unconscious, right? So then I was thinking, okay, well, why would I have sabotaged myself? That's so weird, right? Like, so I was thinking, like, what is this? What is this? And after it was done, and my brother, like, called me a strong, independent woman, which was something he's never ever called me before in our lives. He was like joking a little, but he was just like probably thankful that he didn't have to come over to my house after a long day at work. And I was thankful too, because I don't call upon my brother. In fact, when I called, I was like, obviously it's an emergency. He's like, oh, what's up? And so I was really thankful that I didn't have to have him come over. But afterwards, I kind of think maybe it was because I needed to see that I wasn't like alone. That like, yeah, I could do things on my own, but I also have people who would help. Because I went down to my sister. She had tools for me to borrow. My son, of course, would have helped me if I had needed him. You know, he was on standby because he happened to be there at my sister's house. And and so, like, I don't know, maybe there was just something about needing to know that I wasn't actually, like, on my own, that people did care about my well-being and would go out of their way for me if needed. I kind of think that my subconscious did it for that reason, but so I just pulled some cards while we were just sitting here, and because I was like, well, what is it? I asked my cards, I said, what is the reason this happened to me today? So 2 cards came out. Here's what it is. Together, Helping Hand, Assistance, Organization. Like, this card literally came out of this deck. And the other one says, Sharing, Gathering, Many Tender Hearts, Farming, Loving. This is from my Essence deck. So these are the essences of the energies. So, like, you know, farming, gathering, sharing, like my sister shared her tools, and then, like, you know, I felt held, like this little heart is held in these many tender hearts. And of course this card is talking about helping hands and assistance. So I do think that the reason that I subconsciously sabotaged myself was so that I could show myself that there are people who are willing to help me, that I am not alone. And that's pretty crazy, that I needed my subconscious to sabotage me to know that. So I would just like to convince myself that, yeah, that's true. Because, you know, I spend a lot of my time going out of my way, putting out fires and doing things for other people. And maybe there's just part of me that was like, well, what if I needed something? Like, who would I call? Like, oh, I would call my brother. Or I'd get my tools from my sister. Like, we are a good little team. Me, my brother, and my sister are, I think we're just all very independent, driven, and for the most part, self-sufficient, because we've had to be. but it's not a bad thing. Yeah. So, interesting. So let me ask this. What do I need to do to make sure I don't sabotage myself in this way? Because literally, I have no idea. Like, it was all unconscious that I did that to myself. I had to have done it. Like, the only other option would be that someone would be in that room. And if I haven't checked yet, so maybe I should. Like, it does look like the curtains moved there. I was just thinking, should I do it on camera? I was like, no, then I'll have to get up and you'll see me in my pajamas. And I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing, but it's not my most flattering outfit. All right. What can I do to assure that this doesn't happen again? Looking at my decks to see. What can I do to assure that this doesn't happen again? I guess I'm sharing this process with you so I can show you how I dig into my own shadow and my own subconscious, how I question myself, how I figure out what I'm living in my reality and how it corresponds to what is in my, inner stuff, my inner world. Lead by example. What can I do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Lead by example. Be the leader. Death is an illusion. What the hell is that? Oh, you know what I just got from that when I asked? I heard, well, you were a man in another lifetime. So you have all the skills you need to do what you gotta do. You've lived plenty of lifetimes. You've locked yourself out of your car, your home, your place of business, countless other times over other lifetimes. So this is not like a mountain you can't climb. Like, oh yeah, good point. But I'm a girl this time. I am a girl this time. And girls don't need rescuing necessarily, but it is nice to have, it is really, really nice to know that, my brother would have helped me if I couldn't have figured it out, Because in those moments, the first thing that I felt was, a little bit of, defeat, oh, this feels impossible. And then, how does this happen? And okay, what am I gonna do? Then my mind switched over. Look for a solution. There is a solution. What is it? Called my landlords, no answer. Text my landlords. They called back. Told me there's no key. Trust your intuition. All right, so it's kind of saying don't worry about this. You don't have to change anything in your psyche to make sure this doesn't happen again. This is just one of those things that if you're going to go forward fearlessly in life, one of the ingredients that you kind of want to have is knowing that you have a safety net, right? If you're going to take leaps of faith and go into unknown territory and kind of probably learn by trial and error or let yourself fuck up a bit, you do kind of want to know that somebody has your back, So I think that's all. It was like that, It was just like a reminder that, I really do have people who have my back. And that's lovely. And I've talked about that before in context of even though a lot of my wounding patterns that I talked about having to overcome came from the dysfunctional relating in my family, it didn't mean that my family wasn't made of love. And it didn't mean that my family didn't have some really great things about it. And that, we had our own version of love and the priorities that we had, for instance, I always had a roof. Well, no. My mother was homeless when she was pregnant with me. But after that, I always had a roof over my head when I was with my mother. And we were always fed. So our practical stuff was taken care of. And so that's been a priority for, I think, me and my siblings, is to keep our shit together practically. And it was really hard for me compared to them for a long time. But maybe I've caught up. And I've come back around to the place where I, I'm reminded I do still have them. You know, because whereas before and earlier on in my life, I depended on my brother quite a bit. So I went through a long period until now where I would not bother him when I had an issue because I felt bad for burdening him. Like, he is a human, has his own life, his own challenges. I can't, like, put mine on top of him. You know, he's my baby brother. And so now that I have stepped up and picked myself up, and it's nice to know that he's, like, he is still there. Like, there are still, you know, things. I guess I've repeated that same concept several times now in this one little video, so I should probably go and keep it short. Anything else for today? There was something left over that I didn't mention in yesterday's video, or the day before's video, but I can't remember it right now. Yeah, I think, like, I'm all done for today. I've been doing some guided meditations and a lot of energy medicine right now, mostly for other people, but whenever I do it for other people, I do it for myself as well. Just because I've learned that if I don't, then I'll just end up, like, taking on their thing. So if I'm cleaning up their stuff, I gotta clean up my stuff too. Okay, I'm gonna, like, chill, watch a movie. What are you doing tonight?